Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So today, let's take a look at the 2026 Cadillac CT4 V Series. Huge shout out to Randy Marion Cadillac for providing this sedan for me today. Take a look at their website, that link is down in the description. This CT4 is finished off in black, and they have a starting MSRP just over $51,000. This is powered by the 2.7 liter 4-cylinder turbo. It's paired to the 10-speed automatic, and it pumps out 325 horsepower, 390 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent to the rear wheels, propelling this 3,600-pound sedan from 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds. It has a top speed of 156 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 17 gallons, and you'll expect to see 20 miles per gallon in the city and 29 out on the highway. This has a length of 187.2 inches. Its wheelbase is 109. It has a width of 71.4 and a height of 56 inches. Now, as we move on to the exterior styling, this has a really nice design. You'll notice the gloss black accents for the grille, along with the Cadillac badge. There's also parking sensors up front, more cutouts in the lower section, and then LEDs for all of the lighting with a really nice design for that housing. And then there's several lines coming down the hood to give it a great look. Now, this model also has a multi-spoke design for the wheels, along with the red V brakes there. You'll notice another V badge at the lower section of the door. There's also a turn signal on the body colored side mirrors. There's gloss black for the window trim, and then this gets a sunroof up top. There's also a protrusion in that lower side skirt, which you can see from the side, and some really nice lines that come down just above the door handles. Now in back, there's a spoiler along with the backup camera. There's LEDs for all the lighting, all the parking sensors too, and then that quad tip dual exhaust, which we can remote start. You can also use the remote to shut it off as well, and then you can use the button on the key fob or reach underneath, and this is how you can gain access to the cargo space. Where you have a good bit of space, there's a storage bin on that right side, no storage underneath the floor, but you do have the ability to fold down those back seats if you need even more storage. And then there's one grab handle on that right side, and it's very lightweight, so it's easy to close. Now, this also has proximity door handles, so you can lock and unlock it from any door handle. And for this interior, you'll notice there's orange stitching, which is a neat accent. You get a speaker and then the armrest there. And this model also has red for the seat belts. And then if we grab this release here, we can fold one of the seats down, so that way you can see into the trunk space there. And then there's more orange for the seats themselves. Now, at 5'10", I have a good bit of room. There's storage pockets, vents in the middle, along with one auxiliary. Now, I will say, as far as headroom goes, even with a hat on, I'm kind of basically right at the headliner here. So if you're any taller than me, it's going to be a little bit tight, but doable for smaller kids, or I could ride around town and be okay in the meantime. So you have the armrest and cup holders there, and then it's pretty easy to see around this back pillar here. Now up front, this gets memory seating adjustments, Bose for the audio, your window controls, mirror adjustments, trunk release, and more storage. And then a really nice design for these seats. You'll see more of the orange running through the inserts. There's also a manual adjustment for the leg support. But let's start this up, take a listen to that turbo engine. And coming back to the gauge cluster now, you'll see fuel and tack on the left. On the right, there's engine temperature and miles per hour. You can also go through some info using these buttons on the right side of the steering wheel, where there's also volume and a V button. So if you push on V, this is how you can get into the V modes, and you can actually configure those in the infotainment system. So you can have all of those set up and ready to go. It's basically a preset for those driving modes. Now, for the rest of this information, you can go through a lot of vitals here for everyday use. You can also scroll over to your music, you can get into the nav, and then you do have some settings here that you can get into as well. So pretty easy to go through all that. It gives you quite a lot. And then you do have fixed information in that upper section, like your miles per hour, the time, and outside temperature. Now on this left side, there's shortcuts to your voice commands. There's all of the cruise control settings, heated steering wheel, and then you have the paddle shifters too. Now you have a dimmer switch for the gauges along with the e-brake. And then with the infotainment system, it is angled slightly back, but you still have great visibility with this, where you can scroll through all of these icons. You have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, you can get into your climates. There's also shortcuts in this lower section too. So that way you can quickly get into all of this information. And then there's a physical home button in the lower section, so you can easily push on that. Now there's vents underneath that, and then you'll notice this giant V with all of the toggles. So you have fan speed, temperature, where you'd like the air to go. This even has heated and ventilated seats. There's parking sensors, lane keeping assist, wireless charging below that. This is how you put the vehicle into reverse, where you have the backup camera and the guidelines. There's also drive and then the manual setting. So you don't shift using this, you use the paddle shifters. Now there's cup holders with this carbon fiber trim accent. It surrounds all of these controls for this system as well. So you don't have to use it as a touchscreen system, which is definitely very helpful to have. So you can go through all of that with those controls. You also have volume and tuning. Now there's also engine start stop, auto hold, and traction control. And then you do have a few different driving modes that you can toggle through, depending on the responsiveness that you would like, along with your traction control. Now there's also an area you can place your phone, along with some auxiliaries and storage, and then the locking glove box with plenty of space. You have the rear view mirror, and then dome lights and controls for the sunroof. Sunshade is manually adjusting. And then here's a look at visibility, where you have those thin pillars again, so you can easily see over both shoulders. As we set up behind the wheel now for this CT4 V Series, really the only significant changes for the 26-year model, there's a few added colors. Everything else is virtually unchanged from the previous model year, but this is a really nice sporty sedan to get into if you're not looking for that top level, which would be a CT4 V Blackwing or even jumping up to the CT5. So if you do need a little bit more back seat space, the CT5 is going to provide that for you. If you want a little bit smaller of a vehicle, this is still doable for adults to be in the back, but it is going to be a little bit smaller than the 4 or the 5. And you have a really nice model to drive here. You have a lot of different options that you can spec them with too. And in terms of its power for this turbo engine, let's give it a slight acceleration. And it gets up. It doesn't sound like the V8, obviously, for this 4-cylinder, but it still has a good tone to it. And you have several different driving modes here that you can use. So let's put it into sport mode, and now we can use these paddle shifters where it will show you the gear that you are in. And the paddles seem to be pretty responsive, getting up to speed, and then the brakes do a good job as well. So you have a very sporty sedan here that if you're not really doing a lot of performance style driving, this is something that can do it occasionally. So if you're going on some back roads or on a long road trip, you're on some back roads or something like that, you have a vehicle that will handle those situations without being too raw of a vehicle for daily driving. So this is something that will be perfect for dailying. You have better gas mileage and a very fun vehicle to drive. Seats are also very comfortable. And then as far as headroom goes up front, I have maybe 1.5 inches or 2, and this does have a height adjustment for the seat. So you might be able to be 6 feet and fit in this. Again, if you need a bigger vehicle, you can go with the CT5. But for my height and my size here, it seems to be a perfect interior. So it is on that smaller side again, but if you're not looking for a big vehicle, it'll be easier to maneuver in parking lot situations and things like that. And it still gives you a good amount of interior space for its smaller size. So we're still in sport mode, second gear. Here we go. And just a minor acceleration. And again, the paddles are very responsive. So I like how you can have that sporty feel and that sporty drive, but still retain a little bit more of a practical vehicle to daily drive. So this is what it's like to be behind the wheel for the CT4V or V Series. The V Blackwing is going to give you a larger engine and a lot more power. And as far as its turning radius goes, pretty tight there, so that was easy to do. And I do like the simplicity for this interior. There's some other Cadillac models that have a lot more technology and a lot more features, and it just depends on what you're looking for with your daily driver. Basically, in this model, you just pair your phone to the system and you're good to go. Everything's laid out well. There's a lot of physical controls. So there's not too many settings where it's too confusing. It's a simple interior, but it gives you what you need on a daily basis. So for me, I like a vehicle like that. That's not too complicated. That's not over the top. Some people like all that tech, and that's fine. But for me, this is a really nice interior, something very easy to use and to learn. And hopefully you've been able to tell, it's a pretty quiet vehicle too. It's going to be a little bit more luxury focused, being a Cadillac, We do have some nice materials. There's some plastic on the dash there, but there's some nice leather trim and stitching that surrounds it. But this is going to give you a great vehicle to daily drive. So super comfortable, great on MPG, and it can give you those sporty aspects too, which is nice. So that is going to wrap it up for this 2026 Cadillac CT4 V Series. Once again, huge shout out to Randy Marion Cadillac for providing this for me today. Take a look at their website, give this video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and consider smashing that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with our daily uploads. And I will see you all in the next video.